Toverland is one of the best up-and-coming theme parks in Europe. They only opened in 2001, so they're just over 20 years old, which is still relatively young for a theme park. They're home to 35 rides and attractions, including 5 roller coasters, so not that many, but there is so much more to do here than just the coasters. If you're just wanting to ride those, then yeah, you could probably finish up here pretty quick, but in my opinion, this is absolutely a full-day park. The name Toverland is a play on words from toveren, which is Dutch for magic or wizardry. So essentially, this is the land of magic. Their whole tagline is discover your own magic, and they have 6 themed areas to do this in. That is Port Laguna, Ithaca, the Land of Twos, Wonderwald, Magic Valley, and Avalon. 2 of those themed areas opened after my first visit to Toverland, so I only recently got to experience them. That is Port Laguna and Avalon. It was part of this massive expansion that the park did in 2018 when they essentially reoriented the entire place. So you used to enter in what is now the back of the park in the Land of Twos. That's this big indoor section. That's kind of how Toverland got started. But as they've expanded outdoors, they said, okay, we need a grander entrance. And now you have this beautiful plaza here, very Islands of Adventure, Port of Entry inspired, beautiful looking. And then they added Avalon, which is this like Merlin medieval themed area. Almost Lord of the Rings without actually being Lord of the Rings, you know? This entire park is really well themed. Their attention to detail is amazing. Let's go a little bit more in depth with some of the specific things that you'll find around this place. So I want to start with Port Laguna because that's going to be the first thing you see. When you park at the entrance, you'll get a view of Troy to your right. That's their massive GCI wind roller coaster. There will eventually be a full review of that attraction up on this channel, so stay tuned for that. As you're walking up here, you have this big wide plaza. Really open. I love how they say welcome in all the different languages here. Toverland is located near the German border, so I imagine they pull a lot of different people from like Dusseldorf. The nearest main city to Toverland is Venlo, which isn't that big. For reference, the park is just under a 2-hour drive from Amsterdam or an hour from Efteling. So if you're hitting a bunch of theme parks, it's very realistic to make this one of your stops. It's not really out of the way or anything. But I love when you walk up here, you have this big tall lighthouse. Again, very Islands of Adventure inspired, but it works really well. It's beautifully done. You won't really find any attractions here. Really, this is just an area that you'll walk through to get to all the different rides. I think it would be cool to eventually see a big roller coaster up here, but only time will tell. Something you can do here that I think is pretty funny. Again, we're coming back to Islands of Adventure at Universal. You can buy a magic wand here and wave it in front of the shop windows to make things come to life. It's like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It's hilarious and I love it. And you can actually use that throughout the park. It's not just in Port Laguna. It's little movements like that that you can find sprinkled around the park. These simple animatronics, really cool little details here. You probably won't see everything your first visit around. There's a lot of nooks and crannies to this place. So as you exit Port Laguna, you're going to enter Ithaca. This is a loose ancient Greek theme. They even have the horse there, that wooden horse. This station is also very visually impressive. Their 2 main attractions here are Troy, and then also next door is the Scorpios Viking ship. So not as much to do here, definitely a bit more of a thrill-based area. But as you keep walking, you'll enter this massive indoor building, and that's home to 2 of the themed areas, Land of Twos and Wonderwald. Even though it's one building, it's really separated into 2 distinct parts. There's this beautiful passageway as you pass from one area into the other. I think it's really cool that an area like this exists. A lot of theme parks don't have an entire indoor section. In our case, we used it to escape the heat. During my most recent visit, it was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we were like sweating to death. We're like, we need to get out of here. So we used that time to do some indoor attractions, but also can get pretty cold in the Netherlands. Toverland is open in the winter, so this is a great way to do some rides in a very controlled environment, which is also helpful when it rains too. And there's a lot to do in these 2 areas. We got a wave swinger. Twos Express is their kids coaster. There's a fun house. You'll find a bunch of these throughout Europe. So well themed and some great obstacles. Lots of play structures. You'll find so many of these around Toverland. This park is basically one big playground. We joked that if you didn't leave Toverland with some sort of injury from like hurting yourself on these crazy swings, then you didn't do it right. I imagine a lot of these are designed for kids, but there's no age restriction on them, so you can go on these bouncy houses, anything you want. It really does make you feel like a kid again. again. And it's also things like that that you can only get away with in Europe. Like, you just don't see those in the United States. So that was a fresh change of pace for me. There are 2 indoor-outdoor attractions that you'll find here, so you're going to enter them inside, but then they venture outside. That is Exhibition Zork and Maximus Blitzbahn. So the first one is the park's log flume, and this has gone through a lot of updates and changes as of recently. It's way more immersive now than it used to be, and it's a great flume. It's one of those must-do attractions here. There are 3 different turntables during the ride experience, one of which is an angle. This is a lift hill that you start going up backwards on, and then you rotate partway up. The big drop is, of course, outside. We made sure to take advantage of that splash zone as a refresher. Maximus Blitzbahn is a powered bobsled. You'll find some of these across Europe. You control the speed. It's not a roller coaster or anything, but it's a very popular attraction. And the whole thing is covered, so even though it goes outdoors, if it's raining, you can still do this. And it stays on ground level the whole time, too, so a lot of kids will be able to enjoy this one. So let's move on to Magic Valley. They have 2 roller coasters here. Dwarvelwind, or in English, Whirlwind, is a mock ride spinning coaster. Has this amazing fairy-like theming in the station. And there's onboard audio too from IMAscore. You can get a serious spin on this thing going if you're off balance, and you can even rotate a bit on the lift hill, which is fun. Booster Bike is a prototype Vekoma motorbike coaster. Vekoma's definitely gotten better with these attractions. It's a fairly short ride experience, but it's still cool. This is one of those attractions that only operates with 1 train, so I imagine this can get a bit of a wait. During both of my visits to Toverland, we saw 1 train on pretty much everything, which was fine. It wasn't busy at all, so we didn't really care, but I have heard when the park gets busy, they'll transfer another train on. I've even heard of instances where it starts off on 1, and then it'll build up like a 15-minute wait, and so they add a second train for capacity. So it's clear that the family who runs this place, they care about the guest experience. They want to find that balance between what is economical and practical, but then also optimum for the guests, and you just don't see that at a lot of corporate parks. Every time you walk around Toverland, it's just very clear that they care about this place. The last section is Avalon. I loved this area. I thought it was so well done. It literally reminded me of like the Shire from Lord of the Rings. They're home to 2 attractions when I went, one of which was a slow-moving boat ride called Merlin's Quest. This is literally a ride for anyone. Very scenic, and then it throws in this big indoor show scene at the end with some really amazing theming. What's very peaceful passes underneath Phoenix, which is of course the main attraction here. It's a short wing coaster, but a lot of fun. Go check out that full review I've already posted of that attraction. But we also got 4 new rides opening up later this year in Avalon. This includes a Gerstlauer Skyfly. It's located in the Helix of Phoenix. It's called Pixaris. That should be really cool. There's also a family drop tower, garden tour, which to me looks like an antique cars style ride. Then there's a small jumping carousel, a water playground, and a toddler playground. All of this will just really help round out this area. I'm excited to see how it all looks when it comes together. But that gives you an idea of what you can see in the park. Not everything started out well themed. It's clear that as the park has grown, they've stepped up their game. That's why they've gone back to update some of their previous attractions, such as their log flume. I've heard they might be doing the same for Booster Bike, adding some really cool theming around there, so we'll have to wait and see if that happens. They're really raising the bar. Toverland means business. They want to be a serious player in this industry. And even though when I went, the park wasn't very busy, it was definitely because of weather. I know that Toverland is very popular for like school field trips. I've seen that they put on an amazing Christmas event, and I can just see why families would love this place. Everything is just very interactive. And not just with the rides. You can literally be on like a main pathway, and they'll include a fun way to get from point A to point B. So you could do like the normal route, or you could go the adventurous route. That could include crossing a body of water on these stepping stones or this little raft, passing by a waterfall, going through a hedge maze. It's so fun. So if you haven't been to Toverland, I absolutely recommend it. So let me know down in the comments below if you've been to Toverland. What did you think of it? And of course, stay tuned for more park reviews here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.